Does George Galloway not think that the 1% of the people that are going to be saved now that he's been killed is worthwhile? That those lives that are now going to be saved in the future because he's been killed are worthwhile?
Well, how many bombing campaigns, if Zarqawi's been involved in 21, how many bombing campaigns has David Lammy, Tony Blair and George Bush been involved in? They've actually bombed a lot more people than Zarqawi. How many people were beheaded by Bush and Blair? When you fire missiles at houses or destroy Fallujah, reducing it to ash and dust, believe me, quite a few people get beheaded. This is cant and hypocrisy. Bush and Blair are the biggest killers on the globe, not a tin pot tyrant like Zarqawi.
Well, you said the other day that you thought that the assassination of Tony Blair would be morally justified.
By an Iraqi, just as Blair is morally justifying, presumably, the assassination of Zarqawi.
My question is, in your opinion, was the death of Zarqawi morally justified?
Absolutely. I could make a very sound moral case for the assassination of Zarqawi. The double standard is people in the media and in the government who shrieked in horror at the idea that any Iraqi whose country has been destroyed might have a moral justification for killing Tony Blair are the people dancing now and asking you to dance at the moral justification for killing Zarqawi.
All right. The woman in the middle there, bang.
Excuse me. I called him a monster. I said he was a murderer. In what sense did I apologize for him? The point I'm making is that you and the war you supported have killed far more Iraqis than Zarqawi ever did. You deliberately inflated the role of Al-Qaeda to try and fool people that the resistance was foreign. Now you're going to find out tomorrow, see if I'm right, that Zarqawi dead makes no difference at all to the level of violence and killing in Iraq. The only thing that will change that is Britain and America, who should never have been there, getting out of Iraq.
I'm sorry, George began by saying that Zarqawi was built up by the Americans
the
as
Americans
some sort of villain.
Themselves say that.
Zarqawi was a very bad, brutal and vicious man.
Don't speak at the same time.
It's a good job. It's a good job that he's gone.
All right, Max,
and a simple withdrawal will not help for this reason.
Okay.
That if the West is seen to leave in anything that looks like defeat, then it will
Britain
be seen...
and America that are there. Don't call us the West.
George,
Italy has gone. Spain has gone. France was never there. Yeah. Germany was never there. Don't call it the West.
All right.
Call it Bush and Blair.
Let him have his say too. Don't interrupt him every time he starts.
Was a member of the Respect Party right to tell Muslims to withdraw cooperation from the police following the Forest Gate shooting?
This was the shooting on Friday night, and Yvonne Ridley, who's a member of Respect, who's a Muslim herself, called on the Muslim community to withdraw, not communicate with the police anymore until they start showing some respect to the community. George Galloway, I suppose you ought to go first on this. Maybe you'll give the answer and we can draw stumps.
I wasn't there and I haven't spoken to her, but our policy is not that we should withdraw cooperation from the police, but you'll be fooling yourself if you think that this feeling of no confidence in the police in London is not the prevalent feeling amongst especially young Muslims after a series of events which I characterize as SAS, shoot and slander. People are shot down by the police and then they're slandered by the police afterwards in an attempt to confuse people about the blunders that have been made. Now, 250 black-clad, goggle-wearing, machine-gun-toting policemen smashed through the doors into 2 civilian houses in Forest Gate, and within hours, the media had been told that these families were in houses where a chemical weapon, a horrific chemical weapon, was secreted, that these people were in Al-Qaeda cell, and then when there was no weapon found, then when it became clearer that it was a blunder, we were told that the boy who was shot was in fact shot by his brother. Then we were told, no, he was shot by a policeman, but only because the policeman's gloves were too thick and he couldn't feel and control the trigger properly. Lie after lie. Day after day, these young men have been incarcerated. There is no weapon. There is no plot. There is no Al-Qaeda.
Can I bring you to the question?
Well, that's why young Muslims are already not cooperating with the police.
That wasn't the question. The question was a member of your party that you founded, Yvonne Ridley, was she right?
I answered that.
No, you didn't answer. You said you weren't there. You said you weren't there.
I answered it in the first sentence.
Sorry.
I told you that's not our policy.
So she was
It's
wrong.
not our
So she was
policy.
wrong to urge,
If
and
she
you
said
don't
that,
urge it.
If she said that, she was wrong.
So you don't urge the withdrawal of cooperation from the police on Muslims.
In
or
my
young
first
Muslims.
sentence, I said to you, that is not our policy.
All right.
But you're fooling yourself if you think that that's not already the policy being followed by angry young Muslims who see their co-religionists being shot, then slandered by the Metropolitan Police.
David Lammy.
And to have this slur on our police, that the people are shot down and then slandered, which was George Galloway's opening, I think is deeply insulting to our police, who do a very...
Was the Brazilian shot and slandered?
It was a very... mistakes.
Was the Brazilian boy shot and then slandered?
George, mistakes will be made.
How
But
many
to
mistakes?
To take one example and to characterise the whole of our police force in that way is utterly
examples in less than
wrong.
1 year.
And how many...
Two people shot, 2 people slandered in less than 12
And
months
how many people were
by
killed?
the same police
And how many
force.
people were killed on July the 7th? And how many people have been
They weren't
saved by
killed
the
by
actions?
Jean-Charles de Menezes, and they weren't killed by this boy who's in hospital.
If we can just,
No.
if we just have a word, George, just calm down. How many people have been saved by what our police have done? How many bomb plots have been foiled? How many July the 7ths have been prevented because we have brave policing and good security services in this country?
Yes, the 2 cases of court-martial cases that we've had both involved the maltreatment of looters. The first one was where the officer in charge of a depot instructed the NCO to work the looters hard, and they, if you like, overstepped the mark. And the second one was where apparently they were given no instructions at all because the colonel of the regiment asked the resident British Army lawyer in Basra whether he had permission to shoot and was told he couldn't. So they just went off and did an ad hoc form of discipline.
George Galloway.
No, I'm with Max. The wrong people were in the dock. The problem is not the British soldiers. They're lions, led by donkeys, sent by donkeys into a war which was the original sin. I have never criticised a single British soldier in Iraq, even when they've been caught on camera, meting out brutality towards young Iraqis. I have argued that this is how any illegal occupation of somebody else's country will end. And the people to be blamed are not the young men, 18, 19, 20, many of them in their first and only jobs, sent into the swirling anger and hatred of a military occupation. The people to be blamed are those who sent them there. That's why it should have been David Lammy and the Labour MPs who voted for the war, Liam Fox and the Tories who egged the government on, and the government's leaders themselves. They're the ones who should be in the dock.
David Lammy.
Just, on this occasion, I'd rather be a donkey than a pussycat.
Well, I agree that no soldier should be above.
Lisa.
I hear George Galloway speak, but would he have preferred the thousands of the Marsh Arabs that were murdered and the other people that were gassed and with chemicals? Would he have preferred that to have continued? I don't think so.
Well, I have the benefit of being one of the very few politicians who doesn't condemn the gassing of the Kurds today, but who condemned it at the time. Look at the parliamentary record. See the very few MPs who protested at the time at the use by Saddam of weapons given to him by Western countries, including our own, to massacre people in the Kurdish areas. You won't find Liam Fox's name in the protests. You won't find David Lammy's name in the protests.
Oh, come on.
But you will find my name in the protests.
David Lammy.
This great saint. There are London MPs who have large Kurdish populations like me, who sit on a Friday night, I'm not there tonight, but my staff will be there, who sit with Kurds who were gassed by Saddam Hussein, had families gassed, and are fleeing and claiming asylum in this country. Where
You're
is...
sending
Where
them-
were
Hold on,
you?
hold on,
Where are
listen
you
on.
at
You're
that time?
deporting them.
I'll tell
George,
you where,
let him
he's-
speak.
He's on Big Brother. He's in Cuba. He's in New York. He's writing a book. That is George Galloway. So let us not have preaching.